Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Yvonne Davis. I am an astrologer and author of The Power of Manifestation, Creating a Life You Love. And it's been a while since I've done a reading because I was moving from Florida to Colorado. This background here is in the process of moving. And also I'm in the last 2 weeks of the spring semester of my master's program, so it's been really intense. I had thought that I might be able to do a video while I was traveling, but it just turned out to be way too complicated. It was like a drama in itself. So anyway, I am back set up so I can do my videos again. And I'm going to do one for Donald Trump because I know that's what everybody loves. And I'm going to take you through 3 months so we can look ahead to about, well, certainly the full moon in July. I'm going to take you across 3 months. But I'm actually going to start with the last full moon because I had been thinking I wanted to do a video on that, but it was just too hectic, so I couldn't do it. But I want to show you something about that full moon that I think is still important. Okay, so that's what I'm going to start with. I'm going to bring up Donald Trump's chart, and let's see, this is the full moon that happened on April 19th. And the reason why this is important is because if I had done a reading in advance, like a prediction reading, I would have told you that something shocking was going to be revealed, because that's what we see when the sun is conjunct Uranus, something shocking. And then the moon is some kind of revelation. Like the moon illuminates things, so often there is an important revelation when there's a full moon. And so that's what I would have said if I had done a prediction. But I wanted to show you this because, just for the sake of understanding astrology and how it works, this was actually when the Mueller report became available. So real quick, while we're talking about that, I want to share something else with you. Pull that up. Okay, so I'm guessing a lot of you pay attention to the news and what's going on, so you probably already know this, but just in case you haven't heard, you can actually get the Mueller report on Amazon. And let's see if I can show you this. I actually got the Mueller report on Audible, and it was free. So, you know, I just thought, wow, I really have no excuse. It's free. It's on Audible. I can listen to it. So I really have no excuse. So I just wanted to share with that in case you weren't aware that that is available. Like I said, if you've got an Audible account, you can actually sign up for 2 weeks for free. You could get this for free through Audible. And then I'm going to see if I can scroll back here. See, that shows you it's the audiobook is actually free. But I'm going to scroll back here because there were actually a number of different versions, and, you know, not having read them all, I haven't even had a chance to listen to the one that I downloaded yet. But as you can see, there are lots of different options, and I have no idea if they're identical. What the difference might be, I don't know. So, but you can absolutely get a copy on Amazon. So just in case you didn't know that. All right, so let me bring you back to the charts. And like I said, okay, so that was the shocking revelation that came with the Mueller report being made available to Congress and to the public. And I was actually amazed when I was like listening to the news and hearing so many people using the word shocking. And because I thought to myself, you know, I'm surprised that you were shocked. I wasn't shocked. I'm not shocked by anything that Donald Trump does, but apparently a lot of people were actually shocked by what was in the report. So now it looks like Congress is really in the middle of trying to do some investigations on the leads that the Mueller report has brought forth, and debating the question of impeachment, although Nancy Pelosi, I think it really comes down to her and her decision. And she is not at this point in favor of impeachment, which in a way makes a lot of sense because there's a lot of steps that need to be taken before you get to the step like bringing forth articles of impeachment. So, but obviously a lot of people are really feeling impatient. But that's why I like to do these charts, because if you're feeling that sense of impatience and frustration and anxiety, it can help you to know what is the general direction that things are flowing in. And as I'm sure you know from the news, Donald Trump has insisted that he is not going to follow through on any subpoenas. It is a total 100% absolute obstruction of justice, and that is the stance he is taking. So, but I also heard on the news that this is following the same path as the Nixon Watergate conundrum, and so Donald Trump is actually behaving the same way that Nixon behaved, and we all know how that worked out. So let me go ahead and show you some more of these charts so that you can see what's coming over the next 3 months. Okay, so the first thing I want to show you is I want to actually switch this from that full moon on April 19th to the chart that we have today. And okay, so we still see this configuration, which I've talked about many, many times. It's called the Rack of Doom. Usually there will be one other line opposition right across here that completes the Rack of Doom. And I would still put that in because Jupiter is making a quincunx to the Sun, and Jupiter is all about truth and justice. So, so we've got a lot of karmic stuff going on here. And this is what I wanted you to see. Over in his 6th house of work, we have today the moon, which is emotion and subconscious, and also the people, conjunct, and also can represent women. It's conjunct Pluto, which is power. And as you see, the South Node is almost in conjunction with Saturn. And this is right over his vertex. So this is pretty intense and karmic. And so I want to tell you, what does it mean when you see the moon conjunct Pluto? What that means is it has a very all or nothing kind of energy about it. It's like we're reaching a breaking point. And clearly the way that things are going, we can see that that's true. That on both sides, people are reaching a breaking point. They're not going to play nice anymore. And so that's an all or nothing kind of energy. And what that tells me is that there are some people who are getting to that breaking point. You know, it's like they have legal power to issue subpoenas and to bring people in for hearings and to do their investigations. That is their constitutional right and their constitutional duty. And the fact that the President of the United States is blocking them from following their constitutional duty, that is an obstruction of justice. And it goes against the rule of law. It goes against the Constitution. So this is really a big deal. And some people are definitely reaching their breaking point with him. Okay, so that's, we also see Neptune making an exact square to Uranus, and the moon is also going to make a conjunction to Uranus in his 11th house of social media. And so I suspect that he's still coming forth, making his insane, you know, Twitter storms, just saying all these shocking things that are complete fabrications. But we've been seeing that going on for a long time, so that's nothing new. But that's going to keep going. In fact, I think it's actually going to get a lot worse. So, which makes sense because that's what he does when he's under stress. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to the next chart. And this is going to be when Saturn and the South Node are making an exact conjunction. down here you can see Saturn in the South Node making an exact conjunction. They're still making a conjunction to Pluto, even though it's not, you know, exact or anything like that. And they're hovering over his vertex, which is fate. And then now you can see the rack of doom is complete. It has both oppositions and both quincunxes. And I made the comparison to one of the characters in Game of Thrones. I think it was called the Flayed Man, and that some people didn't get the reference, but for those of you who watch Game of Thrones, you know what I'm talking about. That's the rack of doom. He has that in his chart. So yeah, so we see this ongoing battle. And what else did I want to show you in this? I think that was basically it. Well, actually, we see the moon over here, conjunct Neptune. So this is the biggest issue, really, is the continual lying, the pathological lying, which I'm going to show you in another chart later on, that why I think that Donald Trump actually is so self-deluded. He doesn't even, I think mentally, because this is actually the house of your deep psyche, that he literally does not know the difference between truth and fiction. That's the definition of a pathological liar. And he's also a narcissist, so he's not capable of seeing or empathizing with what goes on in other people's minds external to him. His reality is 100% his own thoughts and feelings. That's what narcissism is when you only see a reflection of your own self. You can't see other people, in a sense. They're only objects to you that either please you or displease you, but they don't have their own, from the point of view of a narcissist, other people don't have their own sense of reality. They don't have rights. And he, obviously, that's the way he acts, that he thinks that only what he needs and wants matter. What other people want, like an external authority, like Congress, like the electorate, or women, or the Constitution, anything, any authority external to him, in his mind, it has no legitimacy, because he's a narcissist. He's incapable of seeing that anything external to him could have legitimacy. All right, so I'll go ahead and switch now to another chart, which would take us to the next full moon, which is the May full moon. Okay, so this is the next revelation. Like I said, full moons represent a revelation, an illumination of information. Often things that have been secret or withheld up to this point now become illuminated and are revealed. So this is really interesting too, the way it shows up on his chart. It shows up in the fourth house. The fourth house is your literal physical house and home. It's also your family. And of course, his family is tied to the physical white house. So we're probably going to see some revelation, not just with this full moon in May, but I think also in the June full moon. And when we get to that, I'll show you why these are tied together. So the other thing to see is up here, where the Sun and Mercury are conjunct over his midheaven. Okay, so when the Sun is conjunct Mercury, Mercury represents information and communication. So, so very likely, you know what, and it's in his most public house. This is the most public house. So when information is revealed. So I think we are going to see some really, really important revelations coming up with the next full moon in May. So keep your eyes open for that. And of course, we've still got this configuration going on in the sixth house of work over his vertex across from Saturn. And this is a house of things that are hidden. And this is the house of work. So let's see, what else do I want to show you? This up here with Venus conjunct Uranus. Like I said, when a planet is in configuration with Uranus, particularly a conjunction, you're going to see something that is shocking. And since this is Venus, and Venus rules women, and it's in his highest house of the public sphere, I suspect that we will see something shocking come to light in the public sphere having to do with at least one woman. Could be women in general, but at least one woman. I'm going to make a guess it's Nancy Pelosi. I'm going to make a guess that she's going to change her mind about something, that she is going to reach a breaking point with Donald Trump, and she may change her mind about how to proceed regarding impeachment. She may change her mind. Now, that's just a guess based on the indications in the chart. I'm just making a guess. But because it's Uranus, Uranus always brings things that are shocking and surprising, and they come out of the blue. They're unpredictable. You can't predict or expect. So even though I am making a prediction, I'm also saying that that the capacity to make prediction with Uranus is very limited. But I do think it's safe to say that it will have something to do with women, or at least one woman, and whatever is revealed will be something very shocking, something that comes out of the blue that we actually don't expect. So whether or not that's Pelosi, that, I mean, that's just my best guess, but because it's Uranus, I could be completely wrong. But it will definitely be a woman. It will definitely be something shocking, and it will definitely be a revelation because it's in his public house and it's happening at the full moon. Okay, so I think I'm just going to only mention those things on this chart and now move on to the July full moon chart. Okay. Actually, I see here, yeah, that was June full moon. Or was that May? Oh yeah, that was May. Okay, sorry. Let me go to the June full moon. Okay, so now we have the full moon right over his natal full moon. So this is very important for an important event in his life, because when you're doing astrology, what you're looking for really is timing. Two things. One is timing. When will events occur that are important life events? And secondly, what area of life will they show up? What kind of flavor do they have? So what kind of events do they bring, and when do they bring them? So whenever you see a chart that has something that is similar to the birth chart, you know that this is actually going to be an extremely important moment in a person's life. This is a timing where something in the natal chart is revealed, or it's like a revelation that is promised in the chart. An event occurs that is promised in the chart, in the natal chart. So it's a tremendously important event, life event in a person's life, because it matches what took place in the natal chart. So you can see that here. We have a full moon right over his natal full moon. So this is going to be a really important revelation that will happen in June. Okay, so let's look at some of the other things that are going on here. We've still got Jupiter in this house, which, again, Jupiter represents truth and justice. And I believe that truth and justice will win out in the end. And the fact that it's in his fifth house means that it could have something to do with his children, which makes sense because, like I said, the full moon before was in the fourth house of home and family, which are tied together because his family is in the White House. And then the next full moon is in the fifth house of children. So, and some people, when they make a chart, I do whole sign charts, but some people, when they do the chart, they start with the ascendant. So that would make this first house, second house, third house, fourth house. That's why I say they're actually tied together. These two full moons are actually tied together. There's something about what's being revealed that are related in these two full moons. So you can keep that in mind. So when you find out what's revealed in the full moon in May, you can understand that something about that will be tied to the full moon in June. Okay, so again, as usual, we're seeing this right over his vertex in his 6th house of work across from this. This is the battle here, because this is basically him. He's Mars, and the Mercury conjunct the North Node. This is basically him and his communication to the world, but the fact that it's in the 12th house tells you that he is trying to keep his secret secret. They won't stay secret, I can promise you, but that's what he's trying to do. And he's continuing with his deception. And this is, again, why I think that the deception actually goes all the way through to his own psyche. He, in some ways, well, he actually does believe his own lies. He is completely self-deluded. And I say that because of the fact that Neptune is in his 8th house of deep psyche, and it's squaring Uranus over here in his house of social media. And he's constantly with these tweet storms, you know, telling all these lies, and on the media telling all these lies, but he actually believes his lies. I don't think that's going to be true forever. I think the truth may actually eventually break through to him. And when I see something in the chart that reveals when that will happen, I'll show you that. So the other thing that's interesting about this one is the midheaven here is conjunct Ceres. And as I've said many times, I have wondered what Ceres means, because the story of Ceres is about child abduction and child rape, and or rape of a female, forcing female to marry him. So I have wondered if that has something to do with his misogynistic relationship with women. But as I've pointed out before, it could actually relate to Russia, because for a long time, Russia as the Soviet Union had the sickle as its symbol. So it could actually symbolize Russia. But the fact that there's this connection between the midheaven and the sickle tells me, because the midheaven is the revelation of something public, that we may see something important where that's concerned as well, that we may get some clues about what the sickle actually represents in his chart. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to the last chart, which is the July full moon chart. Okay. Oh wait, there were actually 2 more charts that I'm going to show you after this, which I think you'll enjoy. I could find that July chart though. Alrighty, so in July, now this is interesting because the midheaven, as I said, the midheaven represents your public self, your public persona, things that are brought into the public, how the public views you. And the midheaven is conjunct his ascendant, which is the sense of self. So with the midheaven there, that says something about his changing sense of self, because it is related to his public persona and how his public persona is changing. It's changing his sense of self. And what else we see here, now this is why when I looked at the charts starting from the full moon in April and moving forward in time to this final full moon in July, I wanted to show you this because look at this here. We once again see the moon conjunct Pluto. That's what we're seeing today, the moon conjunct Pluto. And I'm making this video on Thursday, April 24th. The moon is conjunct Pluto. So keep your eyes open for something important that happens because of this Pluto moon conjunction on Thursday, April 24th. I think it's actually in some ways related. In fact, I think it's intimately tied with the full moon in July. And when the moon is not only conjunct Pluto again, but this time it's a full moon conjunct Pluto right over his vertex. And look, the sun is conjunct Venus. So again, I think, and the moon often represents women too. So I think there's something about this that has something to do with women. You know, I mean, obviously there are very powerful men who are, you know, also bringing forth information and investigations and stuff like that. But I do think that women are playing a pivotal and essential role in this, partly because obviously Nancy Pelosi is a woman who is really in the most important and powerful position in opposition to Donald Trump. More than anyone, she is the one who can hold him accountable. So, but I think it goes beyond Nancy Pelosi. I think you know, it's also the other women in Congress. I think it's also the women who are running for election. And I'm going to show you something. Those are the last two charts I want to show you. Has something to do with the upcoming election and women. And also, you know, the women who have brought cases against him for various abuses. So this is still going to be an ongoing theme. And Venus is conjunct the North Node in this house, and the vertex is conjunct Mercury, which is information. I think, again, there's going to be, this is a house of secrets, so we're going to have revelations, and this is fated. And as I've often pointed out, with his Mercury squaring Neptune, and Mercury in the 12th house of secrets and lies and deception, squaring Neptune is third house of communication. This is why he is a pathological liar. It's like it's embedded in his natal chart. So, but yes, these secrets will be revealed, and we're going to be seeing it with each full moon that comes in May, June, and July. And so I've kind of showed you the unfolding story that starts with today, Thursday, April 25th, with the moon conjunct Pluto over his vertex in his sixth house of work. And that over the next 3 months, it will actually come around again, where the moon will be conjunct Pluto again, but this time it will be a full moon. And something really, really amazing and shocking is going to be revealed. So if you get scared and you think, oh, you know, we're not going to be able to, you know, to hold him accountable, basically, for everything that he's done, all the crimes that he's committed, not just crimes like financial crimes, crimes against the state, but crimes against our nation, really, and his obstruction of justice and all of that. He's not what the President of the United States should be. The President of the United States should uphold truth and justice and the rule of law, and he has done everything in his power to thwart that. So, so don't worry, he's not going to get away with it. So we're going to see some more revelations, really important revelations in the next 3 months. Okay, so now I'm going to shift to the chart for the next election day in 2020. Now, the first thing I want to say is that this chart, it's a difficult chart. So whoever gets elected president in the next election, November 3rd, 2020, it's still going to be a difficult time for that person. And I say that because look how Mercury is squaring this Pluto, Saturn, Jupiter conjunction. I think what this is saying is the laws are going to have to change. It's not going to be easy. I mean, this is going to be like fundamental, even constitutional change. Like, for example, eliminating the Electoral College, that kind of fundamental constitutional change. And so that's what I think the Mercury squaring those symbols of power, they represent our government. And Mercury is saying basically that something really profound, something fundamental is going to change. I mean, at the level of the Constitution and the structure of our government. But I do think there's a really good chance that we may see a woman president because, one, we have Venus here making a quincunx to Uranus, and Uranus brings things that are shocking. And for us to have, you know, a female president would be historic. So no matter what, I mean, we already had, you know, something historic when we had Hillary Clinton running for president, because she was the first female to run for president, but also she won the popular vote. But unfortunately, we didn't actually get her as president. So next time we may actually get a female as president. I'm saying that partly because of the connection of Venus to Uranus, but also because the moon, which represents women, is conjunct the North Node. And then the other thing here that's interesting is Mars is retrograde. And I'm not really sure how to read that in this chart, but one of the things that I will say about the retrograde is it weakens Mars when it's retrograde, and also it could be removal. And Donald Trump is represented by Mars, so it could be removal. So I'm not saying absolutely that we will have a female president. I'm just saying that there's a good chance. And then I thought, well, who might that be? And I thought, well, I'll start by looking at Elizabeth Warren. So I'm going to show you how this shows up on her chart. Actually looks really favorable. Green is favorable. It makes it brings ease. So that doesn't necessarily mean she'll win, but it's a positive sign. Let's put it that way. Okay, so what do we see here? I thought I was looking at a different chart. Oh yeah, I've got them turned around. I need to switch them around real quick. Now we can see here. This is what I wanted you to see, is that the North Node and the Moon, which, like I said, could possibly represent a female winning the presidency, is in the 10th house, and in the 10th house of her chart. And everything is just lining up so nicely, with Venus trining Mars in her 10th house of the public self. So with the moon representing women, conjunct the North Node in her 10th house of the public sphere and career, and the trine with Venus to Mars in her 10th house of the public sphere. The public sphere rules anything like your public persona, your career, your public self, your public status, anything like that. So this would be very profound to see this in a chart if she wins the nomination. Of course, that's the first step that has to happen. So, so I'm not predicting that she will win. I'm just saying that based on the chart of the election day, there are strong indicators it could possibly be a female who wins the presidency. And if she is the one who gets the nomination, there's a good chance that she could win. So I thought you might enjoy seeing that. And again, I'm not making 100% prediction. I'm just saying that if certain things happen, she actually does have a good chance of winning. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and stop there. And I know that was a lot of information, but at least you can see the general trend over the next 3 months, that with each full moon, we're going to see more and more and more revelations. And basically, they're just going to keep building and building and building from here until that full moon in July. So, so just take heart if you have any doubts or concerns that he will not be held accountable for the crimes he has committed and his obstruction of justice. Have no fear. They're not. Congress and other people are not going to give up. the fight. So, so you just have to, you know, like I say, keep heart and know that that is the direction that things are definitely going to be moving in the next 3 months. And actually, I think something else, many astrologers are talking about what's going to come in January of 2020. And that will be even more powerful than anything we've seen so far. So, so I'm just going to stop there for now. And then as we go along, I may do some more readings when we get to the actual dates of those full moons, so I can do a more expansive, in-depth reading. So I hope you enjoyed that. And if you want that link to Amazon, to the Mueller Report on Amazon, I'll put that link in the description box below. And of course, if you want a personal reading with me, you can always go to my website, and I'll put the link for that also in the box below. And I hope you will have a wonderful day and be hugely cheered up by this video. Okay, I will talk to you next time. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.